Okay, Shabbat Shalom. דרור יקרא לבנים בת וינצורכם כמו בבת. נעים שמכם ולא יושבת שבו ונוחו ביום שבת שבו ונוחו ביום שבת. דרור יקרא לבן עם בת וינצורכם כמו בבת. נעים שמכם ולא יושבת שבו ונוחו ביום שבת שבו ונוחו ביום שבת. Shabbat Shalom. I can see we have already Joyce, Jill, and Norman. Shabbat Shalom to you all. Shabbat Shalom, Louisa. Shabbat Shalom, Sarah. Shabbat Shalom, Holly. And Sibyl. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Sandra. I love when you call me boss. Continue, do that, please. Shabbat Shalom, Deborah and Rebecca as well. Shabbat Shalom from Vince, Janet and Dan. Dan, good to have you with us tonight. Shabbat Shalom to Tina and Neil. And of course, Natalia is here, Dominic, Philip, James, Karen. Gosh, wow. Philip Hyman. We have very good company tonight. Shabbat Shalom, Julie as well. And Joyce, I have a message from Sarah to you. She will call you with the details for book rushes tomorrow after the service later. Okay, so message passed. Right, before we light the Shabbat candles, I just wanted to read for you or with you, if you have your prayer books with you, on page 280. You know that this Shabbat we have the last two portions of the book of Leviticus, Behar, Bechukotai, and in our prayer books we have prayers and readings on various themes, and for this Shabbat the theme chosen is freedom, and it's freedom because there's a verse which says Ukratem deror ba'aretz lechol yoshvea, and you shall proclaim liberty throughout the land to all its inhabitants. And Behar is about the Shemitah, which is, when every 7 years we give to the land, I will talk to you about later, but we give to the land some rest. And also the Jubilee, which is every 50 years, 7 by 7, we have to free the slaves, etc., etc. So there's the notion of deror, of liberty. And so in our prayer book, we have actually these words, which I found it very interesting. The Hebrew for liberty used in this verse on page 280 is also the word for swallow. The swallow and birds generally, because they seem to defy gravity, have long been a symbol of freedom. And there is very, very nice poem. Let me check who was the author. You know that at the end we have all the notes. So at the end of the Siddur, so if we look, page 280, the author of this poem is Siegfried Sassoon, who died in 1967. Sophie, you're here. Shabbat Shalom, Sophie. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Rebecca. It should have been your Torah portion, your bat mitzvah Shabbat, but it's just postponed for a few months now. and I'm not going to talk about what you're planning to say. So everyone suddenly burst out singing, and I was filled with such delight as prisoned birds must find in freedom, winging wildly across the wide orchards and dark green fields, on, and out of sight. Everyone's voice was suddenly lifted, and beauty came like the setting sun. My heart was shaken with tears, and horror drifted away. Oh, but everyone was a bird, and the song was wordless. The singing will never be done. Okay, let's light the Shabbat candles together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. So, page 76, please open your prayer books on page 76. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Asharet, Malachi Elyon. Mi melech Malachi HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. ובואכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי העליון. ממלך מלאכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלאכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלאכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 78. Lai lai la 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 la. It's not the right one. Yedi nefesh avarachaman meshoch avdecha el retzonecha yarutz avdecha kemo hayal ישתחווה אל מול הדרך, מה יערב לו ידידותיך, מנופת צוף וכל טעם. יא לי לה לה לה, יא לי לה לה לה, יא לי לה 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 לה, יא לי לה לה לה, יא לי לה לה לה, יא לי לה 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 לה, יא לי לה לה לה, יא לי לה לה לה, יא לי לה לה לה, יא לה לה לה, יא לי לה לה לה, יא לי לה לה לה, יא לי לה 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 לה. יגאלנה ופרוס חביב עלי את סוכת שלומך. תאיר ארץ מכבודך, נגילה ונשמחה בך. מהר אהוב כבמועד, וכוננו כי מעולם. יא לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי, לי 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 לי, לי 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 לי, יא 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 לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי, יא לי לי יא לי 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 לי, יא לי יא לי לי li li li, יא לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי. Right. Our next song is a song that Shlomo Karlebach composed. I don't remember when. Doesn't really matter. So Shlomo Karlebach composed a song based on Psalm 122, verse 8 and 9. For you, my brothers and friends, for you, my sisters and friends, please let me ask, please let me sing peace to you. This is the house of God. I wish the best to you. So we've used it already several times. So I guess now the tune will be familiar to you. But if not, it's repeated. So it's very easy to enter into the kavanah of this of this song. So it's a song of friendship and love. למען אחי ורעי, למען אחי ורעי, אדברה נא, שלום בך. למען אחי ורעי, למען אחי ורעי, אדברה נא, שלום בך. למען בית אדוני אלוהינו אבקשה טוב לך. 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 For you, my brothers and friends, for you, my sisters and friends, please let me ask, please let me sing, please to you. For you, my brothers and friends, for you, my sisters and friends, please let me ask, please let me sing, peace to you. This is the house of our God. I wish the best to you. This is the house of our God. I wish the best to you. למען בית אדוני אלוהינו אבקשה טוב לך. למען בית אדוני אלוהינו אבקשה טוב לך. יא לי 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 לי. יא לי 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 לי. לי 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 לי. Yeah, lie, lie, lie. Psalm 84 on page 85. 85. מה ידידות משכנותיך, אדוני צבאות, נכספה, וגם כל תא נפשי לחצחות. אדוני, ליבי ובשרי ירננו אל חי. How lovely are your dwelling places, God of the host of heaven. My soul longs and yearns for your courts. My heart and flesh sing for joy to you, the living God. As the sparrow finds a home and the swallow has a nest where she may lay her young, So do I seek out your altars, my sovereign and my God. Happy are those who dwell in your house, who are ever singing your praise. Happy are those who find their strength in you, whose hearts are full of your praise. Passing through the driest valley, they find it a place of springs. Blessed with pools by the early rains, they go from strength to strength. They appear before God in Zion. God of the host of heaven, hear my prayer. Give ear, O God of Jacob. One day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather stand at the threshold of your house than recline in tents of wickedness. Eternal God, you are a sun and a shield. Your gifts are grace and glory. You withhold no good thing from those who walk uprightly. Eternal ruler of the host of heaven, happy are those who trust in you. Adonai Sevaot, Ashrei Adam Boteach Bach. Proclaim freedom for daughter and son, and keep as God as the apple of your eye. Lai lai la la lai lai la 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 lai ya la 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 lai ya la 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 lai lai la 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 lai ya la 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 lai 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 Deror yikera leven yimbat veyin sorechem kemo vavat נהים שמכם ולא יושפט שבו ונוחו ביום שבת שבו ונוחו ביום שבת לי לי לה לה לי לי לה 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 לי Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la. Seek out the place where I dwell, O God, and grant me a sign of your deliverance. In my vineyard, plant a vine, and hearken to my people's plea. דראש נביא ועולמי ועוד ישע עשה עמי. נטע שוחק בתוך גרמי ששבת בני עמי שבשבת בני עמי. דעת חוכמה לנפשך והיכתר לראשך. נעצור מצוות קדושך, שמור שבת קודשך, שמור שבת קודשך. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 Yadadadadai, yadai. Oh, it's good to be Friday evening, isn't it? To at last have some rest and be able to cool down, to take some rest, to take stock of what happened this past week. And many things happened since last Shabbat. We had this great biennial. Today, there's been a big election in the country, and the rolling out of vaccine is going well. And at the same time, we don't know about the weather. So there's a lot of things happening in our lives. And let's just now rest and Whew, yeah, I can see you with me with that big sigh. Yeah, I'm a bit tired today, to be honest with you, but it's okay. It's normal to be tired because life is tiring, isn't it? But it's good. It's good to be alive. It's good to be able to feel all these emotions and to feel tired sometimes, to feel happy, grateful. Page 91. Hmm. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד ישמיענו, אל המיוחד אדוני אחד. ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת, ולתהילה לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נשוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה, לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. We're on page 92. 92. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורר, קומי יורי, אורי, יורי, שיר דברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום, עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה, ובצולה תוך אמונה, עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. So the Barechu, which is on page 92, is such an important part of the service because until now we all took our times to get into the prayer, to get into this kavanah, into this intention of spending a Shabbat of rest. And Barechu, we all come together. That's the moment when, according to the Jewish tradition, we have to be a minyan of 10 Jews praying together because there's nothing more. It's not no more important than anything else, but communal prayer, community prayer is very important in Judaism. So we have moments where we have to be 10. The Barechu, when we say the Amidah publicly, the Kiddush as well, we have to be 10 Jews. Barechu et Adonai המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. Page 93. We praise you, eternal one, our God, sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will set the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and separate day from night. You rule the host of heaven. We praise your God, whose word makes evening fall. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, Baruch Ata Adonai, Amari V'Aravim. Unending love have you shown your people, the house of Israel. Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts have you taught us. When we lie down and when we rise up, we reflect on the meaning of your laws and rejoice in the words of your Torah and your mitzvot forever. On them we will meditate day and night, for they are our life and the length of our days. May your love never depart from us. We praise you, O God. You love your people Israel. ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה. ועבדתך אל תסור ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. So there's something we at least for me, I've lost with this Zoom services, is how the body actually is part of a service by standing or sitting or remaining seated or wanting to stand. So wherever you are in your homes, if you want to stand, please do it. I'm not standing because this is my window and I don't want to show you the rest, obviously. But, if you want to stand, please do it. Page 94. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed, ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבביך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום הלבביך, ושננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך, בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשומך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמת. אמת ואמונה כל זאת, וקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ואין זולתו. ואנחנו ישראל עמו, הפודנו מיד מלכים, הגואלנו מכף כל העריצים, ויוצא את עמו ישראל ממצרים לחירות עולם. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule, then, full of joy, we sang together. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש נורם, תהילות אוסף אלי, נורא תהילות אוסף אלי. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Page 96. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים טובים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ותקננו בעצה טובה מלפניך, והושיענו למען שמך, והגן בעדינו, והסר מעלינו אויב דבר וחבר רעב ויגון, והרחק ממנו עוון ופשע, ובצל כנפיך תסתירנו, כי אל שומרנו מצילנו אתה, כי אל מלך חנון ורחום אתה. ושמו צאתנו ובואנו, לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל יושבי תבל. Blessed are you, eternal our God. May your sheltering peace descend on us and all who dwell on earth. So the Amidah is on page 100. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכה חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה מת עם מטרה להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוחיד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, תומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מחמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. In your love you sustain the living, in your compassion you grant us eternal life. You support the falling and heal the sick. You free the captive and keep faith with those who sleep in the dust. Who is like you, source of strength? Who is your equal, sovereign author of life and death, whose will it is that goodness shall prevail? Trusting in you, we'll see life beyond death. We praise your God, source of eternal life. Kadosh ata v'nora shemecha, ve'ein lanu Eloah mibaladecha, Baruch ata Adonai ha'el hakadosh. We praise you, Eternal One, the Holy God. We thank you, O God, for this Sabbath day, which calls us to a closer communion with you. Though you are near to us at all times, you reveal your presence most clearly when we direct our thoughts towards you in worship and meditation. In you, O God, our humanity is exalted. You are our life. From you come its greatness, its power, its beauty. Establish in us, we humbly pray, a devotion to you that shall be firm in all the circumstances of life. May this service renew in our hearts the sense of your presence and bring us peace. The people of Israel shall keep the Shabbos, observing the Shabbat in every generation as a covenant for all time. It is a sign between me and the people of Israel forever. For in 6 days I, the Eternal One, made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day I ceased from work and rested. Page 100. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'emoteinu, our God and God of ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Eternal One, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath. Eternal God, be gracious to people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence. We give thanks that you, Eternal One, are our God, as you were the God of ancestors. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. We praise you, O God, source of goodness, to whom our thanks are due. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha Tasim Leolam, supreme source of peace, grant true and lasting peace to people Israel. For it is good in your sight that your people Israel and all peoples may be blessed at all times with your gift of peace. We praise you, O God, the source of peace. And now we have a few moments for private prayer meditation, which I will accompany with the singing bowl that I have with me here. It's all about sound, letting the sound enter in your soul and your body, and just let it go. Just follow the sound of the bowl. יהיו לרצון אמרפי וגאון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגואלי. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל בני Adam. Right. Shabbat Shalom. So, as I said at the start of the service today, I wanted to talk to you about one of the midot of Musa, one of the sole traits of Musa, which is Bitachon, trust. And trust, I think, is such an important one, trusting the process, trusting that things are going in the right direction. So remember, I've mentioned this book several times, the Musa, a Torah commentary, which is a very interesting a book for those who want to connect the Torah portion with the different midot of the Musa teaching. So that's written, it's text by Rabbi Mark Margolius. So I'm going to just pick up the most important bit of it because it's a bit long, I think. And I will ask you a few questions at the end that you can actually take away and reflect on and think about on this Shabbat. So of course, because it's commentary on the Torah portion based on Musar, he starts with explaining that Parashat Behar describes two important mitzvot, which I said earlier, giving the land a sabbatical every 7th year and declaring a Yovel, a jubilee, every 50 years. Each of these commandments calls upon us to engage in what we might call Shabbat practice, to stop engaging in creation and productivity by cultivating the midah of bitachon, of trust, learning to trust in God, or as many may prefer, trust in a force greater than ourselves. So the sabbatical, the Shemitah, and Jubilee years invite us to set down the tools by which we work the land, to relinquish what others may owe us, and surrender our inclination to control. To the extent that we can learn to trust the process or go with the flow of life, we may learn that the current carries us where we need to go. In practicing Bitachon, we learn to let go and let God. So the first of Behar Shabbat-based mitzvot is the Shabbatical year of the rest of the land, which is elsewhere described as Shemitah. And I just wanted to remind you of these verses. Speak to the Israelite people and say to them, when you enter the land that I assign to you, the land shall observe the Shabbat of the Eternal. 6 years you may sow your field, and 6 years you may prune your vineyard and gather in the yield. But the 7th year the land shall have a Shabbat of complete rest, the Shabbat of the Eternal. You shall not sow your field or prune your vineyard. So the second mitzvah, which is explained in this Torah portion, is the Yovel, the Jubilee year, which takes place in the 50th year, so the year after 7 Shabbatical year cycles. And there's here a connection with Shavuot, which is quite soon actually now. I think it's Sunday a week, which is 7 weeks. And the 50th day is Shavuot. So in the Jubilee year, the slaves must be emancipated, and Israelites who have had to sell their ancestral home as a result of financial hardship are entitled to return home. So this is what the Torah says. You shall hallow the 50th year. You shall proclaim release throughout the land for all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee to you. Each of you shall return to your holding, and each of you shall return each to your family. So something which connects both mitzvot, the Shemitah and the Yovel, is that they are both enacted over a period of a full year. It's 1 year, it's a mitzvah that lasts 1 year. So there's one Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, which says, it is customary for a person to perform a mitzvah for a day or a month. If you think, for example, of Yom Kippur, it's a day, or if you think about the Shloshim after someone's death, it's a month. Does one usually observe a mitzvah for an entire year? Yet the farmer lets the field life fallow for a year. the vineyard for a year and remain silent? Is there a greater strength of character than this? So, this notion of Shemitah and Yovel is even more strengthened and or emphasized by the fact that there is a verse which says, "The land must not be sold beyond reclaim, for the land is mine. You are but strangers resident with me." The Spanish commentator Nachmanides views this verse as telling the Israelites to practice the Jubilee year and not feel bad about it. For the land is mine, says God, and I do not want you selling it outright as you do with other things. You are but strangers residents with me. Do not imagine that you are the point of it all. So that's a very interesting commentary. We are not the point of it all. For another Spanish medieval philosopher, Bahia in Pacuda, Behar teaches that each of us must be ready to move and relocate and not feel settled and secure. And again, that's a very powerful statement. We need to be ready to move and relocate and never feel settled and secure. Noting that, and I quote, the soul is also a stranger in this world. All people are like strangers here, as the verse says, because you are strangers and temporary residents with me. So that's a quite confusing thought. And we have another idea here that maybe the mitzvot of the sabbatical and jubilee years teach us to notice our natural inclination towards attachment and to strive over and over to surrender that predilection. We can understand our inclination to cling or grasp for control as symptomatic of anxiety induced by our sense of separation and disconnection from self, from others, and from God. We can notice the impulse to attach, but allow that urge to pass through us instead of expressing itself in futile attempts to seize control. By opening our mind, heart, and hands, we may settle into an awareness of the underlying interconnectedness of all. So hence, here comes the notion of bitachon, of trust in the process. We can practice bitachon by remembering that what the author called large white parachute and experience it as an ever-present source of comfort and support. We may pause and notice, without judging, our propensity to grasp for control. Then, at the nekudat bechira, the choice point or awareness point, we must remember the truth that we are not the point. It is more than enough for us to understand that we are always gerim v'toshavim, as says in the Torah, strangers and temporary residents with God just passing through. We can be ready at any moment to be like our ancestors Abraham and Sarah and go forth, uprooting and relocating ourselves to the next moment, to the next place. We access our innate capacity for bitachon, for trust, by opening our minds, bodies, and spirits, holding all that is precious with open hands, treading lightly on this world, treasuring and releasing each breath, each moment. Bitachon, concludes Rabbi Margolius, is a particularly challenging midah, especially for those of us whose trust has been undermined by small and large personal traumas and challenges, natural disasters, or unspeakable tragedies. There seems to be ample reason to mistrust the ever-changing flow of life, since it often leads us onto rocky shores. But practicing bitachon does not require passive reliance on that flow. Rabbinic tradition calls upon us not to trust in supernatural intervention, but rather to exert our own efforts to make manifest the divinity latent in the world. Practicing Bitachon involves active, intentional engagement with an underlying, often unnoticed and supportive process that we perceive, trust, and reveal through our words and actions. So these are the questions that are asked to us. And I think these questions are very important if you think about trust as trusting in the process or trusting in the fact that life goes somewhere. What is your basic level of trust in yourself? That's a hard one. But what's your basic level of trust in others, in God, or in life in general? Where do you stand on this trust level? Do you trust yourself? Do you trust the others? Do you trust God? At times in your life when things have seemed bleak, have you been able to perceive within or beneath bleakness a spark of light and hope? And I think that's also a very interesting question for us, especially now. When things seem bleak, are we able to see beyond bleakness, to see a spark of light and hope? And do you have a sense of trusting the unfolding process of life? Okay, so I've got some questions and comments here. Yeah, Natalia is saying that this week is about building certainty beyond logic. It is about letting go and letting go, letting go and letting go. I quite like this expression, and letting go and letting God. Say, yeah, oh, good, Natalia. And Meira adds to say, stay alert to signs that guide us and invite us to respond to the deeper currents of life. Absolutely. And Sibyl, you're right. I also agree with you. I found it a powerful reminder that we do not own our wonderful planet and must treat it with respect. Absolutely. We are not the point. And the planet without us would continue its life in the universe. Right. I don't know if Leo is online tonight, but she asked me to write an article about trust in the Jewish tradition, and it's very interesting. Bitachon, trusting the others and trusting God. I think it starts by trusting oneself. And I think it's Rabbi Janet last week or 2 weeks ago. She reminded us of RuPaul's words. If you don't love yourself, how can you expect other people to love you? It's the same. If you don't trust yourself, how do you expect other people to trust you? I think there's a lot of food for thought here tonight. Right. Okay. So I'm going to retrieve now my the newsletter just to point on some of the things that are happening for us today. First, I think there's a Mazel Tov, which is due to Craig and Sandra Weber. Mazel Tov to you, Craig and Sandra. So where you received the award from Liberal Judaism. So the awards celebrate the contribution of volunteers in LJ communities and are made to those who give their time, skills, material resources, and goodwill for the benefit of our communities. It is because of volunteers that Judaism has survived and thrived over the years. So, of course, yeah, but the thing, Craig, you are writing the newsletter, and you can't talk about yourself, but you also received the LJ Chairs Award. So you wrote about Sandra. She's been a teacher at Beitenu for over 20 years. She's organizational leader of our HMD workshops for schools. She's a creator and lead interviewers of a popular Shabbat Island disc. She organized two community building projects to create the mosaic in both the reception area and the front wall of a synagogue. She's a leading choir member for many years. She's a lay service leader. She's a member of a school visit team. And of course, she is. She also created one of the next generations of rabbis with Gabriel Cantor Weber, with starting his fifth year next year, I think. Yes, so that's for you, and Craig, also you also received the. Let me check exactly the list. Yeah, I think it's important for me maybe to tell you all the people from LJ. We had John Burden, Beit Israel. We have Rosa Slatter of LJ Weinetz, Mike Harris of Nottingham Liberal Synagogue, Craig Simmons of Kingston Liberal Synagogue. And this is what LJ says. Craig is an excellent and exceptional chair who listens to his congregation and also the rabbi, thank you, and acts on all sorts of issues. His workload has substantially increased over the last year, and he has taken on so many tasks in addition to his usual role as chair. As his community told us, under the leadership of Craig, KLS has gone from strength to strength. We are very lucky to have him. And yes, Sandra Weber is also mentioned, Sam Boyne and Ruth Morris of York Liberal Jewish Community, Josie Kinshin of Finchley Progressive Synagogue. Who else do we have? Yes, so these are the this year nominates, and don't tell anyone else, but 2 for KLS. That's quite good. Huh? Really, really good. So, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. So a few announcements. So tomorrow morning there's Book Crushers at 10 a.m. So the link is in the newsletter, and 11:15 we have a family service with all our students from Beiteinu. The usual Hebrew classes. So we have actually now 3 Hebrew classes. We have a beginner's Hebrew class on Monday and Wednesday and Thursday. So thank you, Dominique, for your dedication for teaching Hebrew to KLS members. You are just a star, 3 classes of beginner's Hebrew. Thank you so much for doing that. We have a biblical Hebrew class on Tuesday evening, which is more about grammar. And we have a Torah study lunch on Friday at 1 p.m., which is more about the Parshat HaShavua. So next week, Erev Shabbat service, and next week we have also a very important milestone of KLS life. We have a bar mitzvah of Daniel Roberts. So I saw his Dvar Torah today. So of course I'm not going to tell you what he's saying, of course, but this is another great Dvar Torah. And next Sunday at 7:30, Shavuot, Tikkun Leil Shavuot, a night of Jewish learning online. So we have a guest speaker, Judy Plasko, will come, and we have a service starting at 7:30, then study sessions, and I will give one study session, but one of the earliest ones, because I don't know how it will be after 11. So, and you have sessions all night long. So it's really as you wish. If you feel like coming online next Sunday, I think you have to register, but it's free, of course, but you have to register. So it's Rabbi Yuval Keren, the Southgate Liberal Progressive Synagogue, who has organized this, and it's going to be very interesting. So the full program is there. So the only downside is there won't be any cheesecake, which is, obviously a shame, but maybe later. Right. Look at the newsletter for any other information. These are the things I wanted to really emphasize. So let's conclude our service now on page 519. Thank you, Deborah. 519. Yes, Philip. Next time we see each other, we'll have a nice piece of cake. Huh? I miss that. 519. Baruch Adonai Leolam, Amen ve'Amen. Baruch Adonai Elohim Elohei Yisrael, עושה נפלאות לבדו, וברוך שם כבודו לעולם, וימלא כבודו את כל הארץ. Amen ve'Amen. The eternal God shall rule over all the earth. On that day, the eternal God shall be one and known to be one. May your love, O God, rest upon us, as you rest our hope in you. All the nations that you have made shall come and bow down before you and honor your name. Let God be praised by day, let God be praised by night, let God be praised when we lie down, and let God be praised when we rise up. Avinu שבשמיים, יחד שמך, וקיים מלכותך תמיד, ומלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. I'm going to read now the list of this week's Yahrzeit. So in the meantime, if you want to add names, please put them in the comment section of the Facebook page. So this week we remember Ruth Lawrence, the grandmother of Juliet Petrusevich. We remember Lawrence Ellis, the father of Betty Ellis. We remember Terry Sales, the half-brother of James Sales. We remember Millie Lawson, the aunt of Mark Wolf. And we remember George Goldring, the grandfather of Carol Goldring and great-grandfather Holly Cooper. Zichronam Livracha, may the memory be a blessing. As we say together, the Kiddush on page 524. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעלם לעלמי עלמיה, יתברר וישתבר ויתבאר ויתחומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תוש בכתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל בני אדם ואמרו אמן. אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקחה, בידו אפקיד רוחי, בעת תישן והעירה, ועם רוחי גבייתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא. Into your hand I place my soul, sleep awake for you are near, and with my soul my body too, you are my God, I shall not fear. Shabbat Shalom to you all. Have a nice Shabbat of rest. And now we are going to do the Kiddush. Where did I leave my Kiddush cup now? Oh, I can't find my right. יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ בכל צבעם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן, אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, שבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת, אמן. לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המוציא לחם מן הארץ, אמן. Thank you for sharing this moment with me, and I wish you Shabbat Shalom, and have a good night, and have a good weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.